Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Full Circle Pod. We are on episode 10. This is a big milestone, honestly, guys. We are here, we've been consistent, and we've been growing, and yeah, man, I am so happy about how far we've come. I'm so happy about the community we've built. And also just seeing everything come into fruition, when I first started, I was like, okay, I have a sort of a vision of what this is going to look like, but I don't think I could have imagined everything the way that it has played out. And God has just been so good and so faithful. So yeah, with today's episode, I want to do things a little bit differently. So we posted up on our stories on Instagram. Also, by the way, we do have an Instagram because I know we have a lot of people that just follow us here on YouTube, which is incredible. But we also have an Instagram, so please do check the link in our description for to follow our pages there. If there are any updates and maybe there are technical difficulties or whatever else, we usually do share that on our Instagram. Yeah, so today we put up some questions on Instagram to get some of the questions from you guys. We also took some comments that had questions, and I'm going to be answering some of them with you today. And just a side note, this will be very chilled, just a discussion type of conversation, and I have not actually studied the questions, which is how I want this to flow. I just want this to be just a conversation between the two of us today. And so, yeah, oh my gosh, guys, I am actually just absolutely buzzing. I am absolutely buzzing. So let's get started. But also feel free to add more questions in the comments, because we will definitely be doing this again. So if you missed this round, don't worry. We are going to do this again. And so don't worry about that. Okay, so the first question is, you often speak about purpose. How did you know what your purpose was, and what would you say to someone who feels completely lost right now? Okay, you often speak about purpose. How did you know what your purpose was? And what would you say to someone who feels completely lost right now? Okay, so I feel like we have made purpose such a scary thing, such a big thing, that it almost feels so intimidating when you feel like you can't actually answer this question, like, what is your purpose, with a single word. We want to be able to say, oh, my purpose is to be a singer, my purpose is to be a mother, my purpose is to be this or that. But I think, number one, that purpose evolves, and I think that purpose carries it's like an umbrella term that you have over your life, right? So I don't think purpose is a career. Also, by the way, purpose is not, I'm going to be a singer. It's not, I'm going to be a model. I'm going to be Miss South Africa. I'm going to be a CEO. I do not think that's purpose. I believe that purpose is a doing word. Purpose is the effect of you being there, you doing something, your presence, your words. And what then comes to mind is that purpose is the impact you were sent for. And purpose is also the main reason that you were created, right? So now that we know that, what the definition of purpose is, then how do you find your purpose? So for me personally, I think coming to the realization that, number one, I am not in a specific career, right? My day-to-day looks so different. Like, yes, you can say I'm a content creator, podcast host. I have an investment background and I've done work in that space. If that was supposed to define my purpose, I would have been so lost. But my purpose has not changed in each and every one of those spaces. And I think that really does confirm that your purpose is not your career, but that the purpose, the first and the main purpose that we all have, is to worship God, right? And He made us all with unique gifts, unique talents, unique personalities. And so with that which He has given you, however, He gives you the ability to live that out as worship to Him. I think it was in my discussion with Dr. Kanyile where we spoke about even in your mundane things, you can be worshiping God. So let's also demystify the thought that worship is that worship song that you play and then you're raising your hands, hallelujah. Worship is truly just the act of you using what God has given you, your strength, your breath, to just fully give back glory to Him. You being able to wake up and go to that job is an act of worship to God when you do wake up and you do go to that job. You as a mother being able to, wash your kids, take them to bed, feed the children, raise them up in a way that is pleasing to the Lord can be considered as worship to the Lord. And so our primary purpose is to worship God, and you do that by using what God has already given you. And then, yes, for some people, it is the fact that they will use their voice to sing and worship God in that way, and maybe even make a career out of it. So they can find that purpose and career together, but it's not to say that because it's your career, then it is also your purpose. But your purpose can be translated into your career. So the primary purpose is to worship God. And then the covering or that umbrella purpose that we all have, I think each and every one of us finds one. And so for me personally, it's to make an impact on young people, right? So when I look over my life and the things that I found myself in, there is this common thread, right? And from a young age, there's always been this, just this urge to lead and to bring, to raise up a younger generation, even though I myself, I am young. So through my foundation, my passion there is to close the inequality gap and make sure that young people are able to go to schools that provide quality education. Through Miss South Africa, being able to advocate for that on a big platform. Through my podcast, being able to speak life into younger voices and younger lives. And so it's something that I identified by watching that common thread. So in different stages of my life, it looks different. In different ages of my life, it looks different. In different places of my life, it looks different. But at the end of the day, the result, the outcome of me being present in something is always to impact the person next to me and to instill leadership and to empower the person next to me, which I found through simply being and following the passion and praying and asking God, what is next? What is next? What is next? Okay, I'm going to go on and on and on because I can go on and on about this purpose question. We actually kicked it off on such a high. But essentially, your purpose, your primary purpose is to worship God. So whatever He's given you, your gifts, your talent, your time, your breath, your community, make the most of that, show up in that intentionally. And then on the other end, what is a common golden thread in your life that is more specific to who you are? And you can find that by, asking God and letting Him guide you, and letting Him show you that, listen, this is the gifting that I've given you, and this is how I want you to use it. And some gifts aren't like a talent to run, a talent to sing, a talent to dance, but it's the gift of leadership. You find yourself when you step into a room, you just end up being the one leading everyone, telling everyone this is how I think we should go about it. And everyone seems to also follow, right? That's a gift that you have, a gift of coaching as well. And I remember this was something that I discovered through my sessions with my career coach, actually, where she just showed me that these are some of the gifts that are there, where naturally we all have these leadership or skills that are in us that are also actually a gift from God. Another gift that might not seem so obvious as like the dancing and the singing is the ability to bring people together. Maybe that's something where naturally when you are there, there's a sort of a peace, there's a sort of a unity. So some of these gifts are hints and just nuggets that God has left for you on the way for you to be able to find your path and to find your purpose. So I would say sit back and reflect on this and see some of the things that almost naturally happen with you. Do you naturally just carry a positive light, and whenever people are around you, there is joy? Do you naturally just bring peace into a space when you step into it? Do you naturally just bring leadership into a space where you are all there, but you end up leading that room? And so those are things not to be ignored or not to be sidelined to say it's a soft skill, because a lot of the times our purpose is hidden in that soft skill, because it is a gift that God has given you, and something that He knows, that's something that He was able to bring into the world through you, and it is through that avenue. Okay, and so even in my life, whether I am speaking on a big stage, whether I'm on this podcast, whether I am doing work professionally, there is a common thread of just that leadership and impact. Okay, so jumping on to question number 2. The next question says, how do you know when God is saying wait versus when He is saying move? Okay, I have to be honest, I don't always know that that God is saying wait, God is saying move, but the signs will be there. The signs will be there. I mean, God speaks to us in so many different ways, right? So sometimes you find that you're in a place and you just keep bumping into the same problem, the same frustration, and you can't seem to make progress in that space. And that is often, not always, but that is often a sign that you need to move out of that place, or you have outgrown that place. There is a quote that says, sometimes God makes you very uncomfortable in your current as a means to push you out of that place. And when you start realizing that I'm no longer comfortable being here, I am no longer I feel that there is more for me, that could be the sign that you need to move. But before I lose my train of thought, as I was saying, I don't always know, but I always know who to run to for these, for the answers for this. And so oftentimes when I am not sure, like, God, should I still be here or do I need to go? I will first, in my very human nature, battle with it, stress over it, just, going back and forth with myself. And that often comes with a lot of anxiety and just stress because you don't know whether you're here or there, whether you're coming or going. And then finally it clicks that, listen, Ndavi, if you're not sure if you should be here, or if you should be going, then you can always ask God. You can always go back, ask God, sit in your word, and allow him to reveal things to you. And I think that sometimes we miss what God is saying to us because we expect him to speak in a certain way. So if you're maybe asking God, should I be going or staying? And you're reading your word, you're praying, but you expect God to say, go, or you expect him to say, stay, right? And you find that God, and I'm not even saying you will find that, this is literally the fact, God will speak to you through the details, right? And he will guide your steps. He will guide your value system. He will guide who you are, because God is not on the surface, right? God does not do surface level. So if you're a surface level person, you might struggle with the fact that God is in the details and he wants to work through everything. So what I've learned with how God speaks to me is that he will show me that, listen, this does not align with this principle. And so that is one way of knowing that if I'm saying I want to be obedient to God, and this is the principle that God is teaching me in that point in time, then it becomes very clear and very obvious that if I'm walking according to his principles, then staying goes against this principle, or going right now would go against the principle. I hope that makes sense, right? So it's like God won't necessarily just say go, stay, but he always wants to teach you the full context of the situation and give you the full context of why you should stay and why you should go. And even in this full context, it's not even the picture that he has, because he's the Alpha and the Omega, so he's got the whole picture, but he gives you enough of the full picture to understand that, oh, okay, so not only for this situation do I understand, but even going forward, I will know. And then lastly, to answer this question, if you are not sure if God is saying remain where you are or move forward, another good practice you can have is to do the last thing he told you. A lot of us like to go back to God and say, God, speak, please tell me what to do. But you haven't done the last thing that he told you to do. And it's like, if you want him to tell you the next step, right? It's literally for you to go back to the last step that he told you to do and keep doing that. Remain faithful in that, and God will reveal the next step to you. I have done that so many times where God told me what to do previously. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a cool idea. I guess I'll wait around and not actually do it. And it's like, once you start doing what he told you to do, everything else begins to reveal itself. So if you find yourself in a space where you feel like you're waiting on God to tell you the next step or tell you what to do, then go back to the last thing he told you to do. That's a very good place to start, because somewhere, somehow, we forget what he told us to do, and we are just waiting on the next instruction. But were you faithful with the last instruction that was given to you? Okay, guys, I'm so worried we're not going to get through like half of these questions. Girl, okay, but it's fine. We might just make a part 2 then. All right, so next one is number 3. What do you do when you are afraid of success or afraid of winning? So I think this comes from that first episode that I did where I spoke about with my journey to Miss South Africa. There was a point where I was afraid of winning. And I think that had a lot to do with being afraid of not being prepared of what the next level would require of me. So I'm not sure if some of you have felt this way, where you are going through, where you know that you want something to work, but you also know that if it does work, the level where you have been operating at cannot remain the same for you to be able to step into this new role. And so that can be quite scary. And I think that that's also why God doesn't always give us the full picture when he sends you somewhere or when he instructs you to do something. It's double-sided, right? One, it's to build your faith that yes, you can trust in him even in this season. You can trust in him even when you don't know what it's going to look like. And also for you to know that, for my next step, I need to go back to God because I don't know what the whole thing is supposed to look like. But on the other end, I think it's also God's grace where he knows that if you were to see the entire picture, you might be so afraid that you would not take the steps to go there, but he will still take you there because he is enough, right? If he's going there with you, you have everything you need. You have his grace. You have the abundance of his riches. So we have access to energy, the capacity, the wisdom, God didn't always choose the wisest of the wisest or the best qualified. And I think that was also just a form of his grace when when Jesus picked his disciples, Peter and the brothers, James and John, and all these people, these weren't the most educated people that he decided to make his disciples. And I think that was so intentional to show us that we don't get picked and promoted because of our own strength and our own qualification, but it is simply because Jesus wants you there. He wants to use you. And the beautiful thing is he teaches from both sides, right? So he will show you that I will take you there not because you qualify, but because of my grace, and you can depend on him. And other people who also know you and see you there will also know that, oh my goodness, she is there. I know her and she got there by God's grace. Therefore, I can also depend on him. I can also lean on him. And it comes with so much peace, just also knowing that we can let go of trying to of always feeling like we have to have control of the situation, of always feeling like we have to have that exact strategy on how I'm going to get myself into that room and talk to this person and make sure that I get to be next to these people, network and talk to this and da. It's so stressful, right? And when we get to know that when God takes you somewhere, he will sustain you there, then you can release all these fears, all these expectations, and all of these strategies that if God is not sending you there, if you don't have the favor to be there, you can do all of it and it still not work out for you, And not to say that those things can't be done and that those things aren't actually commendable when someone does do it and do it right. But it's also to say that not everything is in your hands. And honestly, I'm so grateful because these little hands, come on. So, so I think that is what has helped me with that fear of winning, that fear of success. Now I get excited. Now I'm like, okay, like what's next? How are we going to do that? And there is just, and the how, when I ask the how are we going to do that and how are we going to achieve that? It's not the same where it's like, but how? It seems impossible. It's more from a place of, wow, I just wonder how this time God is going to make it happen. So I hope I answered that question. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, so then question 4. And the time is going, but anywho, the Lord shall provide. It says, you seem very confident when you speak now. Were you always like this? And how did you go from being quiet and shy to becoming a speaker and a podcast host? Okay. Seem very confident. Were you always like this? No. I certainly was not always like this. It's actually quite ironic that I have a podcast. It's actually just so insane, because if you knew me growing up, I was incredibly shy, like incredibly shy. So I was the type of person that even at family gatherings, we used to have this thing that I used to love. I loved it, but it was a lot for someone who was shy. So my family would have like a family celebration every year where everyone comes together, all the kids and the cousins, and we're all dancing and it's music. And if you dance the best, you get money. And it was never me because I was too shy. So I would watch my sisters and my cousins dance, and I'd be like, I might join, I might not. And I would literally be standing by my mom and just like watching everyone do everything. And I'm like standing by my mom because that's how shy I was. And so being confident and being able to speak on a platform and having my own platform like this was definitely something that I didn't even imagine. And well, for a while, but God will do a work in you. I remember even when I did a pageant in 2019 and I won, then they threw like a celebration surprise for me and some of my siblings who had not seen me in a while. Obviously at that point I was becoming more confident, being able to speak, and I'll go back to all of how. But some of my siblings were shocked at how I was able to, stand, because with the pageant you obviously stand and you speak and you give your answer in front of so many people. And some of them were shocked, like, how were you able to do that? They're you that we know. And I'm like, yeah, the me that you know. But all of this, I think, came from, and I often attribute this to my mom, but like just coming from, as I previously answered and said, that there's the impact that I want to make, right? And I had to get over myself and basically get beyond my personal fears, my personal insecurities, because my conviction and my eagerness to have an impact was stronger than my fear of ridicule, was stronger than my fear of embarrassment, because that's where my shyness came from. Like, what if I say something and people laugh at me? What if I say something and it's stupid and it's dumb? So I basically had a stronger conviction and realizing that what I have to say is important, realizing that who I am makes a difference, and that if I hold back, there are people that will never see the impact or experience an impact that they can, had I just been bold enough to step out. And I think that that's a reality for a lot of people, that you being shy and, just holding on to this fear of, what if I embarrass myself? What if I fail? And letting that just have so much power over you, instead of shifting your focus to, but what is the cost? What is the loss here when I don't do it? What is the loss when I don't step out, when I know I have to? And so that knowing of my voice matters, what I have to say matters, what I want to do matters, and it requires this of me, that slowly but surely started shedding off that fear, because of the power of that conviction. And I often say this about my mom, because I say, well, when she's with us, she's a clown, she's funny. But she can also be quite a quiet person. But when she starts to speak and to teach, you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And I think it's literally just separating our own, trying to protect yourself and your reputation and all of that, and just being like, there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger impact. And that drives me, even when I step into a room and I'm about to do like a speech or a talk, I always make a prayer to say, Lord, let the people who are listening hear what you want them to hear. It's bigger than me. It goes beyond me. But then on a practical side of things, I would say that it is important to put yourself in those uncomfortable places. So as much as I'm saying the conviction was powerful, it needed to be done, right? I needed to then take the action. So it's important that you know that you're not just going to wake up ready one day and feel like, okay, I can do it now. Do it shaking, do it uncomfortable. Prepare so that you minimize the amount of things going on in your mind. At least you know what you're going to do. You just have to find the courage to do it, right? So prepare, and constantly find things that will teach you to be able to do the thing that feels uncomfortable, that feels like it's outside of your comfort zone. And it doesn't always have to be the actual thing. So for example, if speaking is the challenge, the exercise doesn't always have to be me stepping out to speak, right? You can find something else that is also uncomfortable for you and is a challenge, or it's out of your comfort zone, and you're just practicing how you go through that conflict of, okay, I don't really want to do this doesn't feel right, doesn't feel comfortable, and you do it. And then also, yes, actually doing the thing, going to speak, start with a smaller crowd, I think it's a beautiful thing that they do in school. I used to hate speeches. I would sweat like crazy, but it sets a foundation. So speaking to a crowd of 10, speaking to a crowd of 15, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And I think that will help you to just build that rhythm. And with that said, I do want to add that it doesn't mean that now when I'm about to speak in front of a crowd or do a podcast recording that I don't still get a little bit of nerves. Definitely, it's still there, but I think it's a habit you build, and you also start to know that, oh, this feeling isn't signaling that I'm going to fail. It's signaling that I'm about to do something that requires a little bit more of me, but I can still do it. Because I think at first we translate this feeling as, it means don't do it. It's scary because your body sends signals, and we need to be able to translate these things for ourselves correctly, right? And so, that's how I would answer that question. I do also have a leadership and beauty academy. So it's called Ladylike, where I do training for public speaking, confidence training, finding your identity, finding your why. And so if that is something you're also interested in, I'll actually put in my email for that as well. And we can definitely walk that journey with you. Okay, this one says, what does being still actually look like in practice? Okay, so stillness for me has looked like different things, especially in different seasons where other seasons I'm extremely busy. Meanwhile, in certain seasons, I actually have more time in the morning. I do have to add that the more time in the morning didn't just happen by mistake. I actually decided to start waking up a bit earlier, sleeping a bit earlier so I can wake up a bit earlier to also just have that time in the morning, that quiet time. And I know a lot of people do it in the evening, some do it in the morning, but I do prefer the morning because my evenings can just, I don't know how to time it. I don't know about you guys, but I just simply don't know how to time it, because I would want it to be the last thing that I do. But then if I go at 8, I know that if I'm done at 9 or 10, I'm still not really about to fall asleep. So it's just a weird one for me. So I prefer the morning because then it's the first thing I do, right? So then what does stillness look like? I think we should stay away from making it a routine. So I play a song, I open my Bible, I read a chapter, I close my Bible, move on with my day, right? I really try to, before getting started, just being quiet and allowing God to just show me what my stillness should look like in the morning, because other times it ends up being just a worship session where I, sing or listen and just let the music minister to me. Other times it's journaling, right? It's literally sitting there and I start to write. And as I write, a lot of the things, so I'll start to write in the natural, but I have found that a lot of times as I continue to write, it's like I can tell when some of the things that are being written, I'm like, oh, that's definitely not me. That's so smart. Like, no. So as I write, I just allow God to also just be teaching me. So I'll ask questions and let God help me answer, or I'll ask him questions like, what does this mean for me? Da, 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 da. And so the journaling is quite such an intimate and beautiful practice. And then sometimes it's a little bit of both, the journaling and reading the Bible. And so when I read in my word, sometimes God will just show me where to read. Sometimes I am within a study. Let's say I've decided that this month I want to try and finish the book of James, which I am actually doing. But I've done that so many times. Probably the book I've read the most in the Bible, I think, is James and Ephesians. Those are top two and not two, both of them. So, so I'll sometimes maybe just having decided that this is what I want to study, and there is no pressure. I find that if I say I want to do a chapter this like every morning, then there's the pressure to like rush to the end of the chapter so that you have done the chapter. So I also like to leave the room to just say, this is what I'm reading, but I don't have to finish an entire chapter or stop at a chapter. Maybe today I'm reading beyond that. Just allowing the Holy Spirit to lead me when I do that, because sometimes you'll read a verse and that verse will just come at you like it's literally what you need for that season. It's the word for you. And I think I was doing a fast, I think last week. And the most beautiful thing was that I was clear that during this fast, I was going to read the book of James, right? And I've read it so many times. So I'm like, okay, nothing new here. But, which is also wrong. But God literally was like, you will see a lot of new things, which is the beauty of the word, is that the different seasons you go through will reveal a different thing to you on the same verse in the same scripture. And so I was praying, and during the time I would read a word and, feel like, God, I don't know what you're saying to me like today with regards to this. I don't know. And then what would happen is I would go through my day, because I obviously did it in the morning. Then I would go through my day, and then something happens during the day. I'm like, oh my God, like that's what you were talking about. And I just thought that was so cool that God was basically like preparing me for something that was coming up during the day. And in the moment, I think I tend to want it to be reflective. So for God to tell me something about something that's already happened, or like, help me work out something that I don't understand from something that has already happened. And for him to show me before that this is what I'm talking about, like during the course of the day, I just think that was absolutely beautiful. And so, stillness is literally setting aside time to hear from God, and he decides how he wants to do that, but you need to be open to letting him run that meeting with you. I think I responded to someone and said it's like setting a meeting up with someone and just having that time and let God decide that today you pray to me, you submit your request to me, you worship me, you glorify me, or you sit and be still and I just impart in you my word, the vision, and just healing you and just giving you direction and guidance. Or let's talk, write this down. I want you to share this with someone. I want you to share this word. And there's some things that God shares with me that I know he's like, that's for you. And then sometimes like, that's for the podcast. It's like, that's for your friend, So just also just letting that relationship happen. And I feel like that's actually where it grows. It grows in that stillness. It grows in that quiet time. And something you can also do is to have like a Bible study date with your friends. And I think that's also a really nice way for you to like start being comfortable in like conversing about the word and so forth. So that's a little bit about what my stillness looks like. I highly recommend journaling because I think that for me personally, it has been a space where God really answers. Like, those are some of my prayers. Some of my prayers weren't like prayed there where I was like going crazy and da 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 da, but literally just something that was written down as a sentence, not even as a prayer. You know what I mean? So yeah, journal. Just make the time, and God will do the rest. Avail yourself mentally, avail yourself physically. And don't also say like, oh, I'm doing my Bible study from 7 to 8 in the morning. But in that time, you're also like checking notifications every now and then. You really need to put in that just sacred time for you to do that. I mean, God literally has your whole life in his hands. You know, this is the author of your story. I think I've said this before. Wouldn't you want to know what the author of your story has to say about your story? And what is 1 hour out of the 24 hours that he gives you in a day? Okay, we're definitely not going to get through all of the questions. Okay, but let me not speak too early because some of them are very similar. For instance, this one about how I read the Bible, I think I've kind of answered that one. I think what I will add is that there is also, it's so important to be part of a community, like a church community, a home cell or connect community, where sometime during the week, you are also being, filled up and edified in your own journey. So I have that as well. I think we have to go on a Wednesday, I think also on either a Tuesday or Thursday. And it just helps to have that community. Sometimes when I go there, I'm like so fueled up, can't wait to share with them what I've been learning. And then sometimes they're like, tell me, what are you guys learning? I don't have anything. And it's so nice to just have that, so that this journey is also not just simply in your hands. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people, we get tired, and it's so good to just have that sense of community of people who are like-minded, walking the journey, people that can pray over you. Do not try to do this in isolation. You genuinely do need people for this journey. The next question is, what is something that God has been teaching you in this current season of your life? Oof. Okay, there's so many things. There are so many things that I am learning actually in this season. I think one that I'm constantly learning is just learning to trust God more. Learning to trust not just his intentions or like the outcome that I want, not just trusting him with the outcome, but to trust him with the process. So I think a lot of us find it very easy to just be like, yeah, no, I'm praying for this. I know God will make it happen. But then we don't necessarily like the process and how he's making it happen. So there is something that I'm praying for, and I realize that very often I just pray for the outcome. Like, I want that. God, just make that happen. But God is preparing me to be able to just basically manage that well when he does give it to me, and just also showing me, like, God is revealing me to myself, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. And it's also a very challenging thing, because like, what do you mean? What do you mean I still have to work on that? I thought I was good, And so there are just so many things that in the process will be revealed, and sometimes it can feel like, okay, but we can sort this out later. But it's the fact that God wants to give you that thing. So he wants to make sure that in the build up to it, you are being prepared, you are being made whole, you are ready, so that by the time it comes, you're set, And yeah, I think I'm learning to trust his processes even deeper than I thought I was, because I think I previously thought I trust the process, but now it's almost like I can step out and see that, oh, this is what God is showing me, and he's showing me this because of that, And like I'm saying, sometimes it's not the best thing, doesn't feel amazing. It's like confronting yourself, confronting your weaknesses, confronting just the challenges the things you thought you've overcome, things you thought you don't battle with anymore. And then just knowing that God knows and God cares, and it's not that He doesn't judge, He is pruning. So what does that scripture says? It says, you prune every branch of me that does not bear fruit. I forgot how it goes, but basically He removes everything of you that does not bear fruit and cultivates that which does, and so I'm so grateful for the process. Actually, I'm genuinely so grateful for the process of learning to trust Him more with the process, and knowing that it's not a thing of like, God, I trust you, but being an active participant in the lessons that He's teaching me, and being willing to like take on that truth. I think Naomi spoke about that. Sometimes we still go to God covered. We still go to God still wanting to be like, okay, yeah, but this is good. Like, no, just go to Him openly. And when He shows you that you're still dealing with this, to take that on and be an active participant, partner with God in working through that, because some seasons will only be unlocked once you have, gone through that. And that is not to say like, yay, it's a reward, like I did it. It is more in the sense of it's God's grace of protecting you, so that when He takes you to that level, you don't have to face even more difficulties because you didn't work through a certain thing during this phase and during this season. So yeah, that's what I'm learning. Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. Okay, the next one, and I could be our last one. Let's see how well I do in answering it if I don't take too long. How do you rebuild trust in yourself after repeatedly breaking promises to yourself? I think maybe this question comes from I think it comes from the discussion with Cleola, where she was highlighting the importance of building self-trust. So the question is, how you rebuild trust in yourself after repeatedly breaking promises to yourself. Oh, I've definitely been there. Just so by the way, I mean, most practically for me, like an easy relatable example is probably gym. I say I'm going 3 times, 4 times this week, and then the week ends and I only went once. And it's like, how do you teach yourself again that you can trust yourself? And I think it also comes in very handy for you to simply create little tasks that can just rewire your thinking, right? Because I don't think the challenge is always the actual activity you have to do, but it's overcoming your mind and overcoming the limitations that you've mentally placed on yourself. So if, for instance, you decide that, you know what, today I am going to drink 5 glasses of water, well, then you can maybe start by saying 2, because maybe you know that 2 is something that is attainable for you. So set the smaller targets that are attainable, because this is now in the rebuilding. So you drink that 2, and the next week you say, okay, this week we're drinking 3. And then you drink the 3 just to rebuild and reshape your mind. I think if you're even asking those questions, you're in a good place, because it means you are aware and you want to do something about it. I think a bad place to be in is where you've just completely given up on yourself because you feel like, I never do this and I never do that, and let me just even stop trying because I'm just going to disappoint myself again. But you don't have to stay in that disappointment and linger in the disappointment. Like, that's done, that's okay. A lot of people that have been successful is not because they always woke up at that 5 a.m. I mean, it's not because they always did things on time. I mean, some of my biggest achievements in the build up to it, I wasn't the most perfect person either, but it's literally the most powerful thing is being able to go back and say, I'll try again. I'll start again. This time we do it better. This time we do it like this. And even then you might still stumble again. Because we're human, once again. You might still stumble again, but it's important that you're able to say, all right, maybe we start with 2 days again. Maybe I start with a 30-minute workout instead of a 1-hour workout, but just building that consistency. It's not always about the magnitude of the thing that you did, but it's about doing it consistently and building, just building those new signals, rewiring your mind and reminding yourself that when I say something, when I say I'm going to do something, I am going to do it. And that is such a powerful thing, because when you are about to not do it, it's almost like your body is uncomfortable. Like, what do you mean? That's not on brand for us. We don't do that. If we say we're going to do something, we do it. So you're not too far gone. Just start with the small thing, start with the little thing, and do it, and then do it again, and then do it again. Your brain is wired to help you repeatedly do the thing that you do. So that's how habits are formed. Once you do something long enough, you're forming a habit, and that's where you want to get to, right? You want to get to the place where some of these things that are challenging, that like going to the gym 3 times a week, becomes a habit. I feel like I'm getting there. Just so, by the way, with this whole gym thing, I feel like because I really get these spurges of being super consistent, and then life gets busy, but I do feel like I'm getting my rhythm again, where when I don't go to the gym, it's like, why are we not going? Why? So that's where you want to get, where the habit is you actually doing the thing versus you deciding, I actually think I'm just going to watch this episode and another one and another one. Those are the habits you've built. That's also not by coincidence. So you almost just want to shift the habits to the other side, and you start by doing it small, but doing it repeatedly. Okay, guys, I want to check the next question, but I do really go on for too long with the answers. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Or should we do another one? There are rapid fire questions as well here that they've given me. Okay, I'm gonna do one more and then we'll call it a day. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice about faith, finance, fitness, and life, what would it be? I can give my younger self advice. Sure. Okay, I think I'll break it down to each one of them. I think with regards to faith, to my younger self, I would probably say, give yourself grace. Because I think that growing up, I always felt like I needed to have the like faith religious practices on lock, right? Like, wake up early, read the Bible, and it's like when you make a mistake, yeah, it's done. Why were you even reading it if you're not going to do it right? I feel like my mindset was so toxic towards myself with regards to how I was doing the faith journey. And so I think I would just say to her, have a little more grace with yourself and prioritize the relationship over the practices. It's not always about, this week I read 10 times and, I did 10 good things and very much religious. It's about building the relationship, and being able to be close to God to the point that even if you did not read the Bible this morning and something happens, you're still able to react in the way that God would have had you react. I think that's the place you want to be, not the place where you're like, I read my Bible, but then someone cuts you in traffic and you're swearing them off, And so, I would say to her, with your faith journey, have a little bit more grace and prioritize relationship over religious practices. Coming to fitness, what would I say to my younger self coming to fitness? I think shame, she had it. She was good. She was good. I think younger self now is probably like last year me. I think it's the same thing. Wow. Yeah. I think it's the same thing even when it comes to fitness, is just having grace on be more graceful towards yourself, and just allowing myself to not be good at something from the get-go. I think I've always told myself that I have to be able to do something and do it very well from the word go. And it's like, that is super unrealistic. You can't be a first timer in something and you're going to be brilliant at it. Like, yes, it happens, but it's okay to be a learner. And I think that's also what stops a lot of people from trying new things, because we're very uncomfortable not knowing. We're very uncomfortable not being in charge. Sometimes we're just very uncomfortable not being the best at the thing, because maybe in one area you are, top dog. You're always the best. So yeah, I think we should become more comfortable being a beginner in certain things. And you can achieve this by actually just going out there and trying out something new. If you can't swim, maybe you're 27 like me. I can swim, by the way. But if you can't swim, maybe go try swimming out and be a beginner. And yeah, I think it's such a beautiful thing. So to younger me, as of recent, I would say it's okay to not always be the best. Yes, strive for the best, but you won't always be the best in something from the word go. And it's okay to be a beginner. And yeah, it's okay to suck a little at first and then work your way up. It's actually so beautiful when you're able to reflect on the journey and say, oh my gosh, I could only lift 5 kgs and now I'm lifting 7.5. You'll get the drift. And then finances. I would say, to my younger self, sure. I would say start, because the earlier, the better. The sooner, the better. If there's anything I've learned, is that you should have done it yesterday. When it comes to finances, you should have done it already. You should have done it yesterday. That's the best thing. You rather learn as you go, but the sooner you start with getting your finances in order, even asking the right questions and speaking to the right people. And honestly, just once again, being willing to say, hey, I'm not sure how to do this. Can you please assist me in doing that? And once again, like I said, I think that fear of not wanting to look like we don't know is really stopping people and stopping us from maximizing and just learning, so that you're able to progress even further. So you remain stuck in the same place if you're not willing to ask questions. You remain stuck in the same place if you're not willing to grow, to learn, to admit that, hey, I'm struggling, to admit that, hey, I'm not sure how to do this, and getting that assistance. That's the starting point. So ask questions and start immediately. And a lot of the things, it's okay to learn during the process. So I'm going to leave it at that, because we will not stop. We will keep talking. But that was our special edition of Q&A as we celebrate 10 episodes and celebrating this community that is loving, that is growing, that is so fun for me to be a part of. Honestly, I am learning so much from you guys, as I previously mentioned. And it's so it's so encouraging for me to always be able to come back here and just see that we are growing and learning together. And let me wrap it up. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what stood out for you this week in this Q&A session. Also, remember, you can also leave some of your questions. Maybe you have a follow-up question based on this discussion. Then we can have another Q&A session. I must say, I really enjoyed it. So we can have another one. But yeah, invite your friends. Share this with them as well. Let's engage. Let's, let's talk in the comments. Let's continue the conversation. And then share this. If you haven't subscribed, please do remember to subscribe, do like it. And we are also on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So if you want to listen to it while you're driving rather as well, that is an option for you. All right, guys, that is it from me for this week. I'll see you then again in 2 weeks' time. Mwah.